So, Legends of Runeterra just got its own mid-expansion, which is really just a patch that adds in some new cards to brighten up the meta. But this time around, the revealed cards are actually quite amazing. Not only did we get the new cards with Ednair, which are obviously related to Rusty, that one has a whole amazing story on its own, but besides that, this pack of cards also gave us dragons. Lots and lots of new and very interesting dragons. And I'm gonna do my best trying not to tie this all into Riot's MMO. Because if it's a dragon, you also know it drops loot. Anyway, these smaller cards are always interesting because they should also be teasing a champion that's coming into Legends of Runeterra in the future. At least, this is how these worked in the past. And so, as we go into all of these, just keep this in mind. So why don't we start with the Enraged Flamespitter, a dragon that is facing an entire Noxian army, and it seems like it is indeed winning. You see, this is a Noxian card, but as you can see, that dragon is clearly not enslaved by the Noxians. It is going wild and it is dealing some serious damage. And in the front lines, you can see that the people trying to fight it are the Grey Legion, which at that time might be just a legion, because they don't seem to be undead yet. So I wonder if this is the scene where most of these died before they were resurrected with blood magic. But I don't know, maybe their bodies should be a lot more charred. Anyway, the description says, Noxian expansions have claimed many different people, settlements and cultures. Frequently wild creatures are also at the mercy of the war machine. But in the case of this dragon, each brutal step forward by Noxus is met with an equally brutal inferno of rage. So yes, there be dragons in Noxus too. Which shouldn't be surprising, the Argent Mountains with all of the dragons are right next to them. Anyway, next we have the Chemtech Drake. Yes, finally, this one is canon. We are still waiting for the Hextech one though. Now, I did make a joke about this one on Twitter, and then people quickly corrected me that it's a she, which is something I legitimately just forgot about. Anyway, the point is, this dragon is now fully part of the canon universe. And the description makes it even more interesting. Zone demands adaptation, and the Chemtech Drake is no exception. Cast in a sickly green light of augmentation as it clings to the underbelly of the city. The twin shadows of the drake's ruined wings loom along the darkened passageways, harbingers of fury born from anguish at its own corruption. You see, since these are augments, it seems like someone had to create it? At which point, some people started assuming that maybe this one is teasing Singed to be joining Legends of Runeterra. But to be honest, I don't think that's gonna be the case, because it would make sense to save Singed for the release of Arcane. So perhaps there would be another mastermind in the background? At which point, we really have no idea whom that could be. Unless they bring up a new character, maybe it's someone like Renata? But I have no idea what use Renata would have for something like this. If she wants to wreak havoc, she would be using her own formula, not just a dragon. So right now, the background of this entire creature is a bit of a mystery. So next, let's move on to Bodier of Blackened Ice, which is obviously a dragon corrupted by black ice, which has its source looming from the Watchers themselves. However, this one does not seem to be under the influence of Lysandra, because you can see it is destroying her thralls. I should also mention that seeing a dragon in the Freljord is not that surprising. We've seen dragons live in the icy peaks of Mount Targon. This shouldn't be any more of a dangerous place. Although these dragons definitely not have anywhere as near of a connection to the Celestials as the ones on Targon. So what I can say is that, hey, it looks cool. And here's the description. She was vicious. Thralls burned to black ice. Avalanche beneath her claws. A roar that knocked snow off the mountains. A warrior queen, I tell you. Killing thralls is the work of a warrior queen. The words of Babbling Bjerg, whom we know from dealing with the Yetis. So yeah, that dragon is definitely being saved for the MMO. After which, we got the Dune Swallower. It is not a dragon, but it is still teasing possibly something interesting. The Dune Swallower slumbers at a much larger depth than its smaller Zersai cousins. known to make an easy meal out of the other Xerxai predators. It is rarely documented, likely for the fact that it can swallow entire dunes, and any witnesses whole. So yes, this is a Voidborn that is eating other Xerxai. And it is mentioned that the Xerxai are its cousins. So it's not exactly from Rek'Sai's brood, which could possibly be teasing that it comes from somewhere else. Even though yes, you should remember that the Voidborn are so feral that they may be just consuming each other. However, the point is, this may be possibly teasing Malzahar as a champion in Legends of Runeterra, because the Voidborn that he is summoning are slightly different from everyone else. Though I don't know, would he be able to summon a Dune Swallower? His original lore was so old that maybe. So let's move on. Next, there is the Kingfisher. A massive Demacian ship that looks amazing. I also love how they have an entire building just strapped onto the hull. Also, if you zoom in very close, you might notice Jarvan III in that building. At least that's what I believe it is. It has like 3 pixels. The description says, "You must remember, my son, that the chasing of any horizon must be in service to the home we leave behind." The quote of King Jarvan III, whom I believe is in the building. Now, once again, remember that some of these cards may be teasing other new champions coming to Legends of Runeterra. And this one definitely has some potential, but more on that in just a moment. So next, there is also Portia, the Peculiar. Of course I know old Portia. A bit out to lunch, but she can get you a portal to anywhere in a pinch. A swirl of the tail and you're off. The quote of a portal pioneer. So yes, this is very simply a dragon in Bandle City that is making portals, called Portia. It's a very cool fantasy fairy dragon. Totally worth the loot. Which is followed by Sapphire's Scourge of the Deep, which is a massive sea dragon. And I assume it is pronounced Sapphire's because sapphires? Blue? Look, I don't know, I'm really trying here. Despite its appetite for the strongest sea beasts, there are some monsters even Bilgewater's most experienced captains won't hunt. They speak of Sapphire's in whispered tones, as a hypnotic light moves deep beneath the waves, a monster perched upon a mass grave of sunken ships and drowned men. That is right, all the tiny pieces you can see at the very bottom are actually massive ships. That should give you a scale for how giant this thing is. But after this one, we are going arguably into the best one, which are the Spectral Iron Hounds. These hounds never forget the scent of one who tried to flee, and when the hounds corner their prey, a Deathwinder is never far behind. So, these are cool, but do they remind you of someone? Well, yeah, there is one obvious one whom it might be teasing, but it also mentions the Deathwinder. And let me tell you, that's the card that really sealed the deal for me. And so, here is 1000-clawed Deathwinder. The skitter of 1,000 iron-clawed hands and the gnashing of spectral teeth promise a nasty end to any who refuse to serve. Refuse to serve is a very important thing to point out here. Because should you refuse to serve someone, you would be turned into whatever this is. On one side, this might remind you of something like what's on the Shadow Isles. But there, everything is kinda happening automatically. There is no one that would be specifically shoving your soul into something else to become a creature. So despite this being a Shadow Isles card, because of gameplay purposes, I am pretty sure this is teasing someone else. Someone like Mordekaiser, who did this exact thing in his story. He took the souls of his victims and he just turned them into bricks so that he could make his own fortress. Not to mention that his own mace is forged out of the souls of the ones who summoned him. So you know what? I'm pretty sure he can take the souls of his victims and shove them into the Deathwinder to make it more powerful. But on top of that, if you look at the spiky iron design, You can see it is very similar to something like the Immortal Bastion in Noxus, which is a place that Mordekaiser built. So yes, I am pretty sure Mordekaiser is coming into Legends of Runeterra. And I honestly cannot wait. But this is not the only one I am so sure about. Because lastly, there is also the Veiled Protector. This Veiled Protector has not forgotten the blessings that elevated it above a mere beast, and repays this debt by ensuring any who would seek a certain sanctuary on the slopes of Mount Targon make the journey unscathed. That's right, just like the previous one, I am pretty sure this one is confirming Morgana. Here simply everything lines up. From Morgana having her own sanctuaries hidden around, to her being known as the Veiled Lady, to the butterflies that frequently appeared around her in the Mageseeker. And the Protector even has the Targonian decorations which Morgana has on her as well. So this one is all but confirmed. But this would mean that we are still missing one champion, because expansions usually come with at least 3. See, the Noxian dragon can't really be teasing anyone, because all the leaders of Noxus, that being Darius, LeBlanc and Swain, who are all part of the Triforix, are already in the game. When it comes to the Chemtech Drake, that one really just feels unrelated to anything possible. Again, some people think that this is related to Singed, but I don't think Singed would make that much sense. We'll have to see what happens in Arcane 2. So the only possible one could be Renata. I don't think someone like Urgot would do anything with this. And if Renata herself wanted to cause havoc, she would just use her own formula. I don't think she needs a Chemtech Drake for it. So this one is still a mystery. Then there is Bodir, who also can't really tease anyone meaningful, because anyone who could be related to it is already in the game. Lysandra, Sejuani and Ashe are in the game, so unless they wanna bring out Sorilda or Avarosa, I think that's it. And when it comes to the old gods, Anivia, Ornn and Volibear are also all in the game. So I don't think this one is teasing anything either. Then there is the Dune Swallower, who could be teasing Malzahar. I still don't think that's likely given the size of this. And it could also be Belveth. However, if they wanted to tease Belveth, they would probably use the Lavender Sea. I don't think this would be the best card for that. Also, yes, there is Kassadin, but just like Malzahar, it's kinda unlikely. But then there is the Kingfisher, who might legitimately be teasing someone. Because you see, this is related to King Jarvan III, who was related to one more champion in Demacia, that being Xin Zhao. And to be honest, it would be amazing to see him in Legends of Runeterra, because that would give him some really cool push forward when it comes to his lore. With that said, he actually already has a lot of lore. And in fact, this is the only Demacian who would fit this really well. So I am somewhat confident about this one. That is, unless Riot wants to bring in another version of Cythria. Next, Sephirsa is also locked out, because everyone is already in the game. Everyone related to sea monsters, including Pike, Nautilus and even Illaoi, are in the game. Not to mention Nami or even Fizz. So I don't know whom this could be. And then we got Morgana and Mordekaiser confirmed, pretty much. So, the strongest contenders for the third champion would be Xin Zhao, and that's it. I don't really feel confident about anyone else. But that is unless Riot doesn't bring out another unique champion, just like Nora or Jack. And in fact, some people thought, with so many dragons around, wouldn't it be cool if we got an Elder Dragon as an exclusive champion? To which I would say, yes it would. It would be such a cool way to make the Elder Dragon a canonical part of the universe. And yes, it would fit all the dragons. So now I'm kinda hoping that's gonna be the case. Though Xin Zhao would be cool too, just avoid Cythria at all cost. But we skipped one dragon, didn't we? We skipped Portia, one related to the Yordles. Oh no. There is no way Clad is joining the game being connected to both Bandle City and Noxus, right?